Hi everyone, this is Yvonne Cortez again, and I am reporting on the city of Montclair, which is actually where I live. Montclair is south of the mountains, just below Claremont and close to the 10 freeway. So I looked up the operating budget, and the total revenues that we have in the city of Montclair are actually 28,699,661, and the expenditures for our city are $28,853,787, which actually puts us at an operating deficit of $154,126. The thing that really surprised me about this is the population. The population for the city of Montclair is only 39,944 people. So they have $28 million that are in their general fund to be able to operate all of the programs within the city. That doesn't include any of the other resources or sources of revenue that they get. So for all of their funds, I know we were only asked to do the general fund, but any supplemental concentration, any grants, anything else, their total operating budget for the entire city is 41,622,158. So that number was really high to me. I live in the city. I've lived here for probably about 7 years now. And if you're familiar with this, we have a huge issue with poverty. The schools in the area are just poorly run. The police officers, I want to say that the last time I looked up the city, there was probably about 12 officers that were on staff for this city of almost 40,000 people. And with having $28 million just in the general fund, and if you've ever driven through the city, you can see that those funds are not being allocated correctly whatsoever. I think that was probably a big shock to me. But again, that is what we are working with. So we do have an operating budget. And this is actually the one for the current year that we're in. So I also put this picture up, and in this picture, it shows you all of the areas that budget goes to cover. So all of these things that are within the city, these revenues take care of that. So we had to go ahead and pick a job. So I actually went onto the city website, and here I was able to navigate and find everything. So the employment or the job opportunity that is a current a current posted job that's available is the Director of Public Works slash City Engineer. So with this job, the places that they were advertising was on the city website. I did find it on Monster, and I did find it on Glassdoor. That really surprised me that you would advertise this type of job in all of these major, I guess, employment hubs or sites that are available, because it really is making it available to the public, to anyone. So if anybody's looking for a job, this one is available. The filing deadline is Thursday, March 1st. So you have a little bit of time to gather all your stuff together. And so here's a little bit more. This is actually going over the job description. So I'm going to kind of read through it. I know because it's a job description, it's a little bit redundant. So I'm going to just kind of go through each section a little bit at a time, but this is the actual posting for the job. So if you go ahead and zoom into it, you should be able to read it. The job again is the Director of Public Works slash City Engineer. The salary range is $10,777 to $13,099, and that is per month. The department that it works for is the Public Works Department. The minimum requirements for this job really surprised me. I mean, when we say that it's minimum requirements, as I was reading through them, I'm like, wow, that is very minimal. So in terms of education, they're looking for a bachelor's degree in civil engineering, and that is a requirement. Like most job postings, when you're looking, I know even in the education field, I've seen this, they have what's called a highly desirable criteria or a preferred criteria. It doesn't necessarily mean that that's what they're going to get, but that's the pool that they're trying to grab from. So for this particular posting, they were looking for a master's in civil engineering, public administration, or a closely related field. One of the other requirements that they were looking for were 5 years supervisory admin experience at a mid-management level. So to work as a director of public works or the city engineer, which has several duties, I think these duties actually are above a mid-management level person. So it just shows me that there is an opportunity for growth. I mean, 5 years at any organization isn't a very long time. I think after about 5 years, you're just getting a real feel for the culture, and you kind of have mastered some areas of a particular job, especially in public administration, because the dynamic is just constantly changing. So for this, I thought, wow, that's really low, especially for the salary range and all of the duties that they're asking for. Two of the other requirements was that you do have a valid driver's license, and they were actually looking for a certificate of civil engineering issued by the state board. So that just seems more of a redundant kind of requirement for this type of job, but I did just want to go ahead and note that. So for the duties, they're actually asking, you can tell by the duties that this is more of a director type position, but there are some hands-on tasks that they are requiring of the person. So I think with this, I've noticed a lot of times when you are having people operate at a director level, a director tends to be responsible for directing and coordinating the flow of the work within an organization, but they also have hands-on tasks still. Whereas when you get to like an executive director position, it completely eliminates all putting your hands on anything. I think it's more directing, and at that point you should be building a team and pouring into your leadership and assisting them to be better managers in terms of the job. So with this particular job, even though it is a director, I do see a lot of managing going on in the job duties, and there are some actual, like at the level of a technician, where you're doing the hands-on, you're actually doing the physical work. So these duties basically was to plan, direct, you coordinate, you're establishing policies and procedures, you're doing the budget, you're doing the trainings, you're attending the public hearings, you're participating in the coordinating and organizing of how the work is going to get done. You're the person who's responsible for ensuring that the compliance is being met. You're in the planning. So this job is very, very inclusive in terms of what you are expected to do. And I think with these types of positions, again, looking back at the budget, and so of that 28 million in this particular city that only takes care of the 39,000 people, they're going to give $13,000 to one job. Like when I look at that, and I live in the city is not very big. I mean, we do have I found out that we have a housing or like a projects that's here, and that really shocked me. But it kind of explains some of the demographics that I didn't understand living here. So last, I'm going to go on to my last slide, which is my closing thoughts. And with this, I think the thing that I found most interesting in looking at it was to see how much revenue the city's actually bringing in. That's a lot of money. And if you see the quality of life in this city, it's not that great. We do get a lot of traffic that comes over from Pomona. There are issues with homeless people. I know I've had incidents where I've come home and there's been drug addicts sitting on my porch, or a homeless person sleeping in my grass. I mean, that doesn't seem like a safe city, but when I looked back and realized how many police officers we really have that are committed to this city, it made a lot more sense. And then to find that I thought it was apartments that I lived down the street from, but it's actually a housing project. So that just made a lot more sense in terms of, again, like I said, the demographic and the people and the schools. This community has a lot of poverty, which was I think because of where I live, in the area where I live, um, it's not the south part of Montclair. And so because I live in the north part, it tends to be a more family oriented community. There's a lot of older people that live in the area. It's that kind of, your neighbor knows your kids and you talk to the neighbor and everybody kind of comes out, and everybody's familiar with everybody. They watch each other's houses and so forth. But when you go down about 4 blocks, you just have this area where it's just complete poverty, where people are breaking into people's houses and they're stealing stuff, and the kids aren't safe to walk to school. And I think just recognizing that is huge, and knowing that that's out there. This actually, going through this particular segment, it's really given me an opportunity and even a desire to just get more involved and see what's going on in this city, because there's so many things. I see the the local, like, council people and the mayor over here, it, and you would think that they were a good representation of the culture and of the community, but it's beginning to look like they're closer to just being politicians. And that's really sad, because the people are not being served. And so those are my closing thoughts. Thank you for taking the time to listen to my presentation.